Collective, hey, what is going on? I hope you're doing well. I apologize, I'm running a few minutes behind this morning, but welcome into the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me always. I super appreciate you. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we're going to look at the energy of our health, our well-being, how it's really kind of playing out or feeding into what's happening in our environment, the way we're able to show up for ourselves and even others, people, situations that we care about, etc. We're going to look at all of that via the tarot, astrology, any channeled messages that come through, and I'll also incorporate some Ayurvedic or holistic wellness practices that we can implement to really honor our body, our mind, our soul. So let's get into it. Happy Saturday, happy morning. It's been an interesting week. It's been an intense week. We've had a full moon in Aquarius. It's our last full moon of this eclipse season, and we're going to start a new eclipse season come August. And we have really two powerful solar lunar eclipses coming up. I'll definitely do readings around that, so stay tuned. I think the first one's on the 12th. But you know, the full moons always amplify energy. They definitely have this tendency to bring up things that might be hidden, things that we might not be putting a lot of stock, a lot of weight into, but definitely things that need to be addressed. And this was a pretty intense full moon in terms of the astrology. Not only are full moons intense in general, but just the way the astrology was playing out for this full moon, it definitely brought a lot of tension to the surface. And it's like we have two options in front of us. We can choose to go the more quote unquote spiritual route, meaning recognizing that like sometimes we have to make certain choices and decisions that we might not like in the moment, but will definitely help us out long term. Or also the other choice is like this destruction, what the energy of Pluto, what Pluto brings about. Pluto is life cycles, changes, death, rebirth, etc. And so there is this destruction component playing out in the astrology. And I don't want to sit here and say all destruction is bad, because I think some of it is actually really good for us right now. It's definitely helping deconstruct patterns, dynamics that are no longer serving us, so that we can readjust and realign with things that feel more authentic within self. And it's a lot. It's a lot on, well, you know, and especially when we have these weeks that are just a little bit more intense, it definitely can feel overwhelming, or just like there's so much going on, and how are we going to keep up with it all? I posted this yesterday, but I love this fellow, Dr. Tony Nader. He's really just, I love his thought, his perspective, especially when it comes to consciousness and human ability to refine, grow, strengthen our consciousness so that we're actually more happy, more fulfilled in life. And he just wrote a new book. Well, he has an old book. Before I'll go there, it's called Consciousness is All There Is. Definitely check it out. And he also is in the process of releasing a new book called The Power of Caring. And I posted on the community board that they were doing like this little, not little, but there was like a 6-hour event, I think, on YouTube, where they had a bunch of different speakers come live and just talk about what caring really means and the value of it. Even in our physiology, like caring, that effort of caring, maybe it's not an effort, it's a natural effort is maybe a better way to compartmentalize it. But just engaging in that energy just helps open up the channels, the flow, even within the physiology. It's seen through the cardiovascular system, our blood channels, etc. And which help relieve stress. They help us to feel more balanced. It helps us to feel more alive, more energetically engaged. And those are all really powerful things. And that's a simple but profound result of what it actually means to be in this space, not only of caring, but just ascribing to those higher morals and principles, whatever they may be for you. It's the time to do it right now. That's being challenged on the forefront. And the thing I love about that, about the need or the pursuit of being a better version of self, is it does help us heal. It helps us heal physiologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And then the things that we want to change or we want to see adjustment in our life, those naturally fall in place. It's a domino effect. And it does start with self. Even though when we think about caring for others, that's exactly what we think of, caring for others. We don't necessarily think of self-care, or that's not the first response. When in fact, like, that's the most important response. And that's why I really like having these Saturday mornings with you, where we really can just reflect on where we can strengthen, enliven our health, our well-being. However you come to the table this morning, whether you're struggling mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, it all plays a part. Hey, Namira, good morning. Happy day. I hope you're doing well this morning. Having a great Saturday. Thanks so much for logging on always. So these readings, they give us an opportunity to kind of just like dive into those aspects a little bit more about how we can really just honor self first. And like I said, when we do that, then everything else falls into play. Thank you, girl. Appreciate you always. So I'll start off per usual with energy clearing, just to cleanse out those places where we might be feeling blocked or limited. It is a really good time to set your own intention for the reading as well, especially if you're live and you have something on your heart and you would like Spirit to deliver certain messages to you. Definitely give that over. Be open to receive. Spirit is always looking to speak to us. And really all we have to do is just like ask and, be open to receiving the response. Symbolism, synchronicities, it manifests in a lot of different ways. And also when we engage in self-care, self-love, it's easier to pick up those messages that much quicker, right? We're more connected to our intuition because we're more connected with self. I also provide a variety of healing and wellness services. Readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, how it's faring, where it's headed, or if you're interested in that rebalancing of self, your mind, your body, your soul, I do energy healing as well as Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations, because when we are aligned in self, as I was saying, that's really where it just it fills us with happiness, fulfillment in life. It brings our abundance to us. And I think you totally deserve that. I would love to help support that for you in whatever way possible. Definitely hit me up. All the info to get into contact with me is in the description box below. Working on my website. I'm going to keep saying this until I actually do it. So I've been working on my website. Definitely, if you want to get in touch, shoot me an email until it is up and running. All right. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it and release it from our being so we may see and understand the messages clearly and help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit guides, guardian angels, Mama Love. All right. I'm going to pull up a chart real quick. I'm definitely feeling, hold on a second. Thank you. All right. Sorry. I just had to do one thing before I started and I apologize. All right, let's look at this. I'm not prepared this morning. I was like enjoying my morning and I was like, I have enough time. And then my time went like super quick. So thank you always for being patient. All right. So, I mean, I am picking up a little bit of heaviness. I think this is natural just because of where we're at with the full moon, etc. And we're still seeing tension in the astrology. Venus is tensely aspected to Black Moon Lilith. And this is really manifesting in these places where we're seeing this level of trickery, deceit, dishonesty. And that can be, yes, from our outside environment, but it can also be from within, you know, places that we might try to trick or deceive ourselves. The morning dew pops out. It says, a fresh beginning blooms with promise. I like this because I feel like it really just confirms, even though that Venus tensely aspected to Black Moon Lilith feels a little bit heavy, or it's annoying. It's annoying when we see things about people, about situations, and especially when we're talking about health and wellness, the way that it affects us on the health and wellness level. It's hard. It's hard to come to reality. It's hard to come to grips with reality at certain times, but it's also not the end of the story, right? And I love this confirmation right here because it does really just speak to the fact that, like, even if things are changing, even if you see something being a little bit shady, or they're trying to sell something that is not in fact true, then it's simply spirit helping you to see what reality is, what the clarity is, so that you can better honor and take care of self. And that's not always easy, again, because when we think of caring, the first response is like, oh, how I care for other people, or how I care for like the external environment, not necessarily things from within. So divine blessing, I like this. Spirit's hand is upon you. You are supported. I think this is really powerful, and I feel like this is very important for you right now and this week, especially in kind of what I was just talking about with that Black Moon Lilith energy. Also, when we're dealing with people in situations like that, it can make us feel vulnerable. It can make us feel unsafe, exposed. And this is that confirmation that spirit does have his hand, her there. Sorry, if I default to certain genders, it's not intentional. It's just like, whatever. But however you understand it, it's never meant to be inappropriate on my end, just so you know. But that you are guided, you are protected, and it's not, and again, that clarity is the blessing. It's the silver lining, because otherwise we might stay engaged in something for too long that actually is hurting us. That's hurting us on a level that oftentimes we're not necessarily aware of in the beginning, right? Like the subconscious level, the little things that we pick up along the way from our environment that kind of inform how we think, how we feel about ourselves. And you're in a space where you're moving beyond that, where you are growth and evolution. And there is something that is dimming your light. No, like your energy is drained. Pause and restore. Something is draining your energy. And I feel like these are the red flags or the flashing lights that are coming towards you lately. Even if you're having a really hard time giving yourself the necessary credit, trust your gut. It is a tricky thing. I'm not going to lie. Like trusting our gut, our intuition, it's not the most evident thing. It is and it's not. And it also is very subtle, the way that that trusting, that knowing comes through. So it requires a sense of stability and peace. That's why I'm such a huge proponent of meditation, because it helps quiet our minds so that the mental chatter or whatever's going on up there, right, isn't getting in the way of what those places that our light is being dimmed, that we do actually need to see and be aware of. And I feel like, again, Spirit's really just confirming that whatever heaviness you're feeling right now, It's okay. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of feel your feels. I tell my son that all the time. He's a boy. Maybe it's not popular to feel your feels when you're a boy. And he is a crier. I hope he doesn't hate me for saying that. But he's just like such a sweet, sensitive soul. He has a beautiful soul. But crying is the way he processes and releases. And when you have people telling you, don't do that, all it does is constrict. It limits. It continues and perpetuates the pain and the suffering. And so I feel like what spirit, the clarity that spirit is bringing to you, it's with compassion. That's what I'm hearing. It's out of love. It's out of care and compassion for where you're at, for where you're going, what you're going through, and what you need to see. Interesting. I love this. And as I'm saying that, cosmic embrace and sealed door come out. Love surrounds this choice. Lean into the light. The cycle is closed. Do not reopen it. How powerful. Like, how powerful is that? So you're getting very clear messages this morning around whomever, whatever is dimming your light. And again, when we're talking about our health and well-being, that can come in a lot of different forms. That can just be how we treat ourselves. It can be a behavior, a thought pattern that is not good, that's not life-giving. I like personally putting it in that context of what is life-giving and what is life-depleting. Because when we're engaging again in that life-giving energy, it's only going to help the prana to flow. It's only going to help the beauty and the magic to flow. And it is kind of crazy when when we start living in that way with life. It is an act of surrender. It's an act of understanding that we might not know, or we might not have all the best plans in mind for ourselves in terms of how we fill in those plans, right? But I think when we're open and we surrender and we allow spirit to show us and guide us and direct us in a way that might feel a little bit scary. I love this. The cosmic embrace comes out again. So you saw me shuffle. Double confirmation. Lean more into the light. I love that. Lean more into the light. Lean more into the places that love is surrounding you. And it's about disengaging with the places where love does not surround. And it doesn't even mean that something has to be big, bad, and ugly, or like super toxic or whatever. That could be a part of your story. It's not in everyone's situation, or not everyone is like that. I would like to hope. I've definitely had my fair share of toxicity, and it does make it hard to trust and believe in people moving forward when we're involved in really painful, toxic dynamics. But that's, again, it goes back to this message of like, if that's the truth, then you know that's the truth. You know someone, something, or even an aspect of yourself is trying to dim your light. And you don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. And it doesn't even, like I said, it doesn't have to be a harsh thing. Like a lot of times I've found even in health and well-being, or health and wellness, it's the same thing, I guess. But just like when you're doing more healthful things for yourself, the things that dim your light are naturally removed, is what I want to say, right? So it's not even like you have to do this overactive, over-aggressive cutoff. And a lot of times that cannot be very beneficial. Obviously, if your body is in a position where you need to do something like that, then yeah, maybe sometimes cutting something out cold turkey is the right thing to do. If it's gotten to an extreme, right? Where it's hurtful, where it's detrimental, where it's not really helping you thrive, then maybe that's the right choice. But sometimes we have to kind of go with that like back and forth energy a little bit until we actually are able to release it from our being. Cosmic clock pops out, divine timing. Everything happens in divine timing. Patience, the universe is arranging all the pieces. And that can be a little bit challenging right now too. That energy has definitely been coming up this week in the collective, where it's like when we're coming into these frustrations, these blocks, these obstacles, it can feel like this is never going to end, or why can't I just get out of this? Or I've worked so hard for A, B, and C, and it's just like, where's my due? Where's my reward? Where's the, when am I able to get out of this? Why do I have to live under this? That kind of vibe. We're not getting a lot of clarity right now. The rising sun is in the blocked energy. Clarity shines on you, your path moving forward with confidence. Well, I don't feel like that's there, or there's just a lot, like it feels like there's things that are happening, like things are happening in a way that you're not necessarily, like you can't necessarily see. This is a little bit of going back to what I was saying, or it is of surrender, of letting spirit fill in the pieces that need, and really working to kind of surrender and trust to the places that you need to, when you are shown certain things, to be able to say like, okay, this is exactly what the message is to me, and I need to listen to that. Because it is going to help you. It is going to help you strengthen. It is going to help you overcome. And I feel like that is the most important thing right now. It's not so much about what you do and don't have, or where you're at in your wellness journey versus like where you want to be. It's not so much about that. It's not so much about perfection. It's more about protection. You're being redirected in a way that I think is very important for you. You're being redirected to a place where there is more love, where there is more support, where there is more balance. But there is still a lot that's unfolding in the process of this. And that's where patience is really important. And that's where the lack of clarity is coming in, right? Sometimes like spirit just doesn't want to reveal, or like we have to like get excited, get curious, about what certain things are, or play around with the energy, right? Playing around with different ways that you can actually enliven your well-being, right? And maybe you're exploring different avenues of self-care, things that you have been interested in, but you haven't necessarily given yourself an opportunity to do. There's so many varieties. As much as I'm a huge proponent of Ayurveda, and it is dope, like literally, I highly, highly encourage you to look up, a center in your area. They're not called centers. They're just like, it's not a spa. It would be like an Ayurvedic practitioner. Definitely look up a practitioner in your surrounding area and get a service like a Shiro Dahara. They just pour warm oil on your third eye. And it is so, I can't even put it into words, like how powerful these practices are. Ayurveda is the science of living. That's my baby. But, there on top of that, there's so many other forms of healing that we can choose that really do. I went through a period of time where I was like way into acupuncture, and it's great. Acupuncture is really great. Ayurveda has marma therapy, which is a little less invasive. It's more like pressure points. But all I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different ways that we can really honor and support ourselves. You don't even have to take a class. It can be something you research on the internet and then you try to implement. Obviously, use caution in whatever you do. Also, another reason I love Ayurveda, though, because all the practices are pretty safe. So you can't really harm yourself. It's not like injecting things into your body. You have no idea what you're injecting in there. Okay, so 8 of Cups is walking away from toxicity. I feel like this is the theme, obviously, in the reading, right? We see that through whatever this divine blessing is for you. And I'm hearing this as like spirit is really coming to meet you halfway, or even more than halfway. Maybe I should give spirit more credit. It feels like whatever is happening in the background behind the scenes is really going to honor and support you. And specifically because you can't see it right now. So that's why it feels a little bit like you're not being supported or you don't have your needs met. Also, because of that, because of not having your needs met, it's also giving you the courage and the strength to walk away from this toxicity. And I do really love the way that they depict it in this card with that sun on the horizon. Hope is on the horizon. This has already been left in the past. And she walks away with confidence and strength. And it's the energy that I'm picking up this morning where, like, yes, there is some grief, there is some sadness, there is some heaviness around leaving certain things behind. But at the same time, it's also something that your soul needs. And that's where the confidence comes into play. It's so hard, Namira. I can resonate with that. She says, I do everything alone, but always help others. And I think that is really just the life of a healer, whether you consider yourself that or not. But you are someone who is more connected and understanding. And yes, and I agree with that. Like, probably more empathic, you know, and I think it's not easy. I mean, I definitely can resonate with what you're saying. Other people are more busy with themselves. And it's true. Like, I can resonate with that a lot. Like, I've often run into people who are so happy to take my overgiving, but then when I need something, or it's not really given with the same freedom, flexibility, love, etc., there's often strings that come with it, or like you said, they're too busy or whatever. And that's really hard. And, you know, because I can say for myself, like, I love to give. Like, I love to be mama love. I love making food for people and listening to people and caring about where they're at and hugs and all that. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of who I am. And so I've had to realize that, like, that's part of me. But I also need to have boundaries as to how much I'm going to give. Because like you said, the reality is people are very involved in their life, as they should be, right? And so we need to have appropriate expectations around that. And when we can find that balance, then I've found myself able to be in a place where I can appreciate my giving that much more. Because I'm not necessarily doing it with hopes that this person is going to do X, Y, and Z. If anything, it's like it kind of gives a certain amount of freedom for everybody to pick and choose. And then if they are being a-holes about it, like if it's someone who doesn't deserve it, then I rescind my kindness. You know, I don't necessarily have to keep investing in an energy that's just taking. And I've definitely been in many of those situations. Well, and here's the thing. I love this. I love that, Namira. Thank you. She said it's not easy, but I always ask the universe for help. And I agree. I just want you to, I think that's the right thing to do. Not just my opinion, but that's what we can do, right? Is ask spirit for help. Ask spirit to start guiding and directing you to people who are going to be friends to you. You know, maybe that's not every person, but maybe along as you're meeting new people, you can connect with one or two people that can be like a really good friend. And if anything, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, because it really does mirror the reading, the way that people can dim our light or make us feel small or not care so much about us when we've invested back into them, etc. And I think this reality is really helping you move into a time where you are going to be connecting with people who can love and embrace you. And I think that's the most powerful thing. It does always come back as good. Like, you know, karma, you reap what you sow. It's a real thing, period. You know, and I think that, like, again, it's these things I can just say for myself and my tendency to overgive or overcompensate. Yes, it comes from my wounding. I'm not like, everyone's bad and I'm good, because I don't think that either, right? Like, I definitely grew up in an environment where that was the expectation of me, to be very subservient. And so now that I can make my own choices for my life, I'm learning that where that wounding has come from within me, and then I do actually have the power and the control, that I do love to give and I love to be a lover and all that stuff. but I also need to pick and choose who gets my love. Not in a more specific sense. Generally, I try to love everyone and give people the benefit of the doubt. But specifically the people that, take advantage of what I'm giving, I'm learning and have learned or continue to learn how to pull back my energy, that you don't have to overly give. So exactly. We're all on our own path, and I love how you say that. I love how you acknowledge that. Thank you for letting me share a little bit about my own perspective. And thank you so much for sharing too, Namira. I think that helps a lot of people. A lot of people can definitely fall into that trap. And, that's the beauty of collective energy, right? As we all learn from one another's experiences, because we can all see ourselves in aspects of those. It might not be the same story. It might not manifest, in the same situation, but there are definitely things that we can all draw from. And this is really beautiful. You coming in as the Emperor. The Emperor is Aries energy. This is building or being empowered within self. This is exactly kind of that value of strengthening it's not even about strengthening who you are, because the Emperor is just I've got my stuff together. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know where I'm going, and I know how I need to get there. This feels to me like you're creating more boundaries, especially in relation to the places that toxicity keeps showing up. And it kind of feels like it's in a no BS type way, right? You're not letting people pull the wool over your eyes, or you're not letting them get the best of you, or even if it's something that's pulling. And that might have even been some goal, some motivation. I don't want to go into too much fear mongering, but I'm definitely picking up that energy of maybe something didn't really know how to communicate or how to engage. And so it might have been through some inadvertent tactics that maybe weren't meant to harm, but I don't know, it's, it's bad attention, right? When a child's screaming, just to get attention, that kind of thing. That's what this energy reminds me of. It's something that might be throwing a temper tantrum or doing some toxic behavior or whatever it is, really because there's this desire for things to move forward, to start fresh, to be better. But it's just not happening, and you're not paying attention to it. You're aware of it, but you're not paying attention to it. You're making sure that you continue to stand in your own power. Falling prey. Maybe even something kind of wanted you to trip up. Maybe that was the goal of something recently that you've been dealing with. Or it's whatever someone chose, it's affecting you in this way that's pulling you back into a space where you might want to dim your light. Okay, so not having enough time for self, that's going to be really important this week. Oftentimes when we are showing up as the Emperor, it definitely means that we have a lot on our plate, that we're juggling a lot. And yes, he's very good at doing it fluidly, but he might not have a lot of time for himself. So really make sure that you are giving yourself time and space to think and process through. We've also seen that in the astrology as well. Don't make knee-jerk decisions. Don't have knee-jerk reactions to things, because those, even if it is out of the ego and we feel justified and right in the moment in time, it's not going to feel that way long term. And I was doing a reading the other day, and it's a very similar energy where it's we have to be gentle with these things that are maybe dimming our light, or the places that we are coming into challenge. We need to be a little bit more gentle with those energies and not so in something's face about it, because again, the repercussions of that, of an intense, aggressive cutoff or screw you or whatever that is, right? However that would manifest for you. it's not going to help right now. If anything, it's just going to make it a little more rocky. And then you're not going to feel as confident as you move forward. And I think that that's why it's really important to make sure that you are spending some time with yourself, or just allowing yourself to process through situations, dynamics you're involved in, or places that you see yourself trip up in your health, routine. Being very clear, very aware of where those triggers are coming from. And that's where I'm kind of seeing it. It's like you can understand the topical of it, but I feel like the Hermit is asking you to dive a little bit deeper, to like go underneath the surface and really understand like why something's triggering you, or why you're getting triggered by something, right? Okay, this is a little heavy. It's very hard for something in your environment to make peace with the choices that you are making. It's making them very emotional. There is a lot of emotion here on everyone's end. It feels like something can't express themselves, however, especially with this Knight of Pentacles. This feels like you're dealing with a situation where someone, or even yourself, feels very like trapped in the emotions. Again, maybe it's harder to get to those deeper layers of understanding of why something's happening, or why you're getting triggered by something. Even though there's a commitment to self to not engage in the toxicity anymore, it feels like the path forward, I don't know, like maybe it's as simple as like how the energy then gets invested. Instead of sitting around thinking about or trying to hash out with someone where there really isn't a lot of movement, there's not much progress you can make, maybe it is just better to connect to these places of love and safety and support. And even in like kind of how Namira was talking about, sometimes we don't even have those groups of people around us that we can feel we can turn to or whatever. That's where I'm not really sure how it is in the Netherlands, but even in like Bumble BFF, do they have that over there? I have no idea. But there's a lot of different platforms. I would say, there's a lot of different ways that we can like meet people nowadays. Join a group or sign up for something that you really enjoy doing, a book club, a volleyball team, a biking club. Those are all my references. A knitting club, trying to think, journaling. There's all different types of things that we can sign up for. And a lot of times when we're talking about like manifesting new people, new opportunities, really the universe just wants us to put ourselves out there. We never know when we're going to meet someone, right? Like if you're looking for love, you can go on a date and be very annoyed with the date that you're on, but then you could run into someone that you have a long-term relationship with or whatever, you know what I mean? That you really like is what I should say. So it feels like that. It feels like you're kind of battling between the forces of whatever someone's holding on to over here. This feels a lot like, if this is a person, it's like their inability to process through, their inability to kind of release and let go. And because they can't really process, it's keeping them stuck in a dynamic that really doesn't exist anymore. And I feel like it's something that really doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. So it's, again, makes a lot of sense as to why Spirit is continuing to say, you don't have to continue to try to convince someone or, make your perspective, make your understanding understood. Something can't do it. Or maybe there's just something inside of you that you can't explain. And you just need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of the dynamics when it pops up, if it's affecting your health and wellness, and what you need to do, the tools that you need to have to set yourself up for success when it arises. And that really is the beauty of it, right? The Hierophant. That is what keeps us in line. This goes back to those higher principles that I was talking about. This is also very mirrored with Neptune in retrograde right now. Neptune does govern our spirituality and sense of higher evolution. And so we have an opportunity to grow and evolve right now. And honestly, if we are willing to allow that healing to come in, we're better off as a result. We're seeing a lot of people, a lot of situations kind of get humbled lately, to put so mildly. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it is allowing people that are faithful to the process to connect with what they want, though that wish fulfillment, the desires of your heart. And it is a little bit about like being balanced and middle of the road right now. Exactly why it's not necessarily good to get too assertive, too aggressive. Yes, have your boundaries, but you don't need to over-explain, because it almost feels like the over-explanation is not really helping anyone in this moment in time. And someone's not understanding it. You're sticking to your boundaries. It is affecting you. It is affecting you emotionally. But I also see you have enough going on for yourself that you don't have to get pulled back into this. It can feel sad. We can choose, right? And sometimes things pop up. We can't necessarily help our analytical mind. Things will pop up to remind us of what we're going through, or they did that to me, or whatever it may be, or I did that to myself, and it's this value of like, yes, acknowledging it, but then still continuing to move forward. You don't have to stay stuck in that, right? And that's where the 5 of Cups can be a little bit of a tricky energy, because it definitely keeps us stuck in places where we're feeling disappointed, where we're bummed out. It would be that value of like, if I constantly am not getting needs met or reciprocity by my friendship group or people that I'm actively investing in, then why would I sit there and continue to try to pour into that? It's only going to get the same results. And it's not an easy thing, right? Because I think there is the healing of expectation. We started out with that message, with that energy, especially as it comes to caring, etc. So we have to heal that expectation. We have to be aware of what we're expecting. And we have to also recognize, like, is this person or situation even able to give me what I need? Because that's the other thing too. Sometimes we expect people to give us certain things, and they just have no tools to do it. No tools. And that's a hard one to wrap your mind around, because like we're often functioning from the perspective of how we treat others versus like, again, maybe they just don't have the tools or capacity. I love this. My life is full of love, and I open my heart to receive it. Reflect on what love means to you and how you can express this love more freely in your life. That's so beautiful, because I think it also kind of depersonalizes some of that stuff where, and this is, I've taught my one friend, we've been talking a lot about this, like just the 4 agreements and to not take things personally. Like Namira pointed out, everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own journey, and it's going to go at different rates. And when we can kind of just understand that, like, we're all doing this dance. Sometimes we interact, engage. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not so good. It makes it easier to open up our heart because there's not as much attachment. And attachment is, in Ayurveda, it's like, it's not a bad energy, but it's an energy that's coming from, that lack of self-love, that lack of self-care, essentially. It's kapha energy, and kapha is our strength, our cohesion. It's how we build our structure. But when we're afraid that there's not enough to go around, when we're afraid that we're not going to get our needs met, we hold on to things. And we often end up holding on to the things, the people, the situations that can't give us what we need. And so it ends up limiting ourselves from receiving what we need. But when our heart is open, then we're open to receive things that are in like equal matching vibration. I am a masterpiece, perfectly imperfect. So beautiful. This is about our self-worth. Write a note of love to yourself. Embrace your imperfections. Acknowledge both your strengths and flaws with compassion and acceptance. I heard it said as credits and deficits, and that's what I really like. I like that language because we're not all good, we're not all bad, we're not all right and wrong. It's not so extreme, right? There's actually a lot of beauty in the in-between. And yes, sometimes we are put into dynamics where either people are accusing us of things or trying to point out flaws or, whatever it may be. But when we can also open our hearts up to love for ourselves, embrace our quote unquote imperfections. Again, it makes life that much more beautiful. And it also helps, it's a level of honesty and authenticity that also really helps attract the right people, the right things to help honor our wellness, our health and well-being. I choose caring and loving words. Be mindful of your language. When you notice negative self-talk or unkind words towards others, pause and consciously replace them with caring and loving words. I think it's such a great way to end it because I do think there is that power of positivity, right? I think I mentioned this on the channel. Like my son and I will do this as well when something's really negative or getting us down and we've kind of vented it all out, then try to shift to something more positive, something more exciting. And it really does help change up the mood. Where before it just felt like these cycles of just like focusing on the doom and gloom or this did this and this and this. And that keeps it really hard. It makes it really hard to get out of those cycles, right? But when we choose caring, loving words to ourselves, to others, again, that also helps us release the expectation, release the attachment, release the need to be around people, situations that dim our light or that put us down or make us think less of ourselves than what is actually true. And it's all about connecting more with this love. The way that we connect with love is we choose love first within self. And I know that is hard. And even if you find yourself in a space where you don't feel loving or, it's hard to do that, then go back to the basics. Ask Spirit, please bring me someone that can be compassionate, kind, and loving to my heart. And then really just like, we do need help. Sometimes we need that boost. Sometimes it's hard to believe that the world or people is a good place because there's just a lot of craziness that goes on. And a lot of times it comes from people that are closest to us, which is very defeating. But this is all about kind of releasing that, whatever that is, however that shows up for you in your life, whether it's a pattern of behavior or a thought or letting certain people kind of take over your life, however that comes into play, and move more into that space of love. So that's what I have for you guys this morning. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for your time, energy, always. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you, Namira, for all of your beautiful comments and sharing and engaging. I super appreciate you always. I hope you guys have a happy Saturday. I hope you enjoy the day. And I will be live tomorrow evening for our weekly forecast, just as a heads up. And I hope you have a happy Saturday. Take care of yourselves and give yourselves all the love, all the support. Sending all the love and support to you too, Namira. Have a great day. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.